Thank you and welcome back to my video series. Thank you for watching. In the previous videos, you have learned about all the various clauses till 7.1. So this video, let's look at 7.2, 7.3 and 7.4. You may recall that clause number 7 is about support. As usual, let's start with reading the standard. 7.2 Competence. The organization shall A. Determine the necessary competence of person doing work under its control that affects the performance and effectiveness of the quality management system. B. Ensure that these persons are competent on the basis of appropriate education, training or experience. C. Where applicable, take actions to acquire the necessary competence and evaluate the effectiveness of the actions taken. D. Retain appropriate documented information as evidence of competence. Note: applicable actions can include, for example, the provision of training to, the mentoring of, or the reassignment of currently employed persons, or the hiring or contracting of competent persons. From how I look at the entire quality management system, competence is one of the most important aspects of success of the quality management system. The previous clause, organizational knowledge, combined with competence, is a very important part of ensuring success of the quality management system. If you try and understand, a process will perform well only if the people involved in doing that particular task or activity are competent enough to be able to do it. So start backwards, go back to processes and look at what skills are required to perform a particular task or activity as a part of a process. Once you identify skills required for the process, look at whether the people involved in that activity, in that task, as part of the process, do they possess that competence or not? So it's saying A. Determine the necessary competence of persons doing work under its control that affect the performance and effectiveness of the quality management system. So step 1, look at every process, look at the activities of the process, look at the skills or competence requirement, go back to every process and look at the set of activities that are required to be done as a part of the process. Now that you know what activities have to be performed, you must assess what competence is required for people to be able to carry on that particular process. B. Ensure that these persons are competent on the basis of appropriate education, training or experience. Now that in step number 1, we know what skills are required to be able to perform that particular job. Now look at if there are any gaps. So if I've assigned person A, B and C to be able to do a particular job type, we already know what skills or competence is required to be able to do the job. I know the skill of the person A, B and C that I assigned to it. Should there be some gap? C. Where applicable, take actions to acquire the necessary competence and evaluate the effectiveness of the actions taken. So should there be some gap, you must take actions to acquire the necessary competence. And this acquisition of competence could be either done through training or mentoring or reassignment of a currently employed person from a different process to this process, or hiring or contracting the work to competent persons. C further goes on to say, and evaluate the effectiveness of the action taken. Should you have made provisions to fill this gap, look at how you would evaluate the effectiveness of the action. So if you've trained someone, then it must be followed up with assessment of the training. If you've reassigned someone, a current employee, look at whether the current employee has the skills that are required to do that particular job. Or if you've hired or contracted to competent person or persons, look at whether that skill gap is being filled. From how I look at business processes, any organization's management system will be successful when the objectives that the organization has set of profitability, of revenue, of margin, of better product quality, of lower cost of poor quality, etc. is being met. And to be able to achieve these objectives, it is imperative that competent people are aligned to do the job. And through this A, B, C, D, they have given you exactly what is needed. A, you must identify what competence is required for every job to be done. B, now that you know as a part of your A what competence is needed, B, you must assess whoever is been assigned that particular job, is he competent either on basis of his education or training or experience. C, should there be some gap between B and A? So I know what skills are required. I know what is the current skill of the people I've deployed. If there are some gaps, you will require to take actions to acquire the necessary competence. And such acquisition could either be driven by training or on-the-job mentoring or reassignment of current employed persons or hiring or subcontracting to competent persons. Furthermore, it needs you to evaluate the effectiveness of the action taken. So whatever method you've chosen to fill the gap, you must evaluate the effectiveness of the actions that you have deployed. D, retain appropriate documented information as evidence of competence. So you must have a traceability document between what skills are required, what skills does the current person have. How do we showcase that the person is competent? Either the competence is basis his education or training or experience or a mix of all of them. If I were working as a lead auditor looking at effectiveness of the quality management system, I would look at clause number 7.2 very, very keenly. Unless A, determination of the necessary competence is done, subsequent deployment will never be successful. You must know what skills are required to be able to deploy the right kind of people. And if a proper skill assessment hasn't been done for the job, you will never be able to put the right kind of people. So there must be descriptioning of what competence is needed for people to be able to do their job. And the criteria could be appropriate education, training, or experience. So if I am the lead auditor looking at the effectiveness of quality management system, by design, in the test of design audit or the adequacy audit that we refer to as, I would be very keenly looking at clause number 7.2. I'm extremely skeptical that an organization will be able to do their job well, will be able to create products that meet customer requirement, that the organization will be able to enhance customer satisfaction, that the organization will be able to improve the processes, unless the 7.2 is done well. So this section of 7.2 must be very rigidly audited. If you are an internal implementer, if you are the lead implementer deployed in a company to implement ISO 9001, I would advise you to have a lot of emphasis on clause number 7.2. Very, very important. Like I was mentioning, this is the design component for me for the success of the quality management system. Unless A, B, and C are done well, your organization will never be able to achieve the objectives it had set for itself. If you are the owner of a small business or a large business unit, one thing that you must control very well in the organization is clause number 7.2. Traceability between what skills are required to do the job to the skills of the current people deployed to do the job. If you don't do this well, your cost of poor quality will increase. Unskilled people will be deployed at creating products and services and expected to meet customer requirement. Now let's go to clause number 7.3, awareness. A very welcome change in the ISO 9001:2015 standard. The organization shall ensure that persons doing work under the organization's control are aware of A, the quality policy, B, relevant quality objectives, C, their contribution to the effectiveness of the quality management system, including the benefits of improved performance, D, implication of not conforming with the quality management system requirements. For how I look at quality management system performances, awareness for me is one of the most important design components that can ensure pass or fail of your quality management system. Every person working within an organization must be aware of the direction that the top management has set the company for. That is mentioned as a part of your quality policy. So unless everyone knows about the quality policy and understands the quality policy, the direction of everyone must be towards achievement of the envisioned goal of the company. And A is mentioning about that, quality policy. B, relevant quality objectives. Quality objectives for me are measurable elements of success. So how do you measure the organizational success? So if I am part of, let's say, the production team, and the organization has set itself a quality objective of having less than 4 defects per million opportunities. If I do not know this, I will not be able to align my business processes to be delivered that kind of results. So there has to be oneness between the quality objectives set by the organizational leaders and people performing the job. C, their contribution to the effectiveness of the quality management system, including the benefits of improved performance. Change management is a definitive challenge. And unless everyone understands how their contribution to the quality management system will benefit the organization and what are the benefits associated with improved performance, it is difficult to get people to do the right things. So C is extremely critical. D, the implications of not conforming with the quality management system requirements. You will have to motivate your people to be able to ensure conformity to product and services requirement. And one coercive way could be that people should understand what are the implications of not conforming to the quality management system requirements. They may be appraised about the disciplinary processes should process adherence not be done. There could be certain rewards and recognitions associated with people who follow processes. So awareness is extremely important to us. It is extremely important for the health of the quality management system. If you are the lead auditor, pay a lot of importance to the awareness clause or clause 7.3 during your audits, especially with the top management. Department heads, leaders must be unison with the ABCD. And it is a top-down approach. Unless the leaders of their departments do not follow ABCD rigorously, one mustn't expect the people below them to do that. If you are a lead implementer deployed by an organization, you must ensure that adequate amount of focus is given to awareness of the processes, awareness about the quality policy, awareness about relevant quality objectives, helping people understand how do they contribute to the effectiveness of the quality management system, what are the benefits associated with improved performance, implications of not conforming to the quality management system requirements. If you are a business owner, please make sure that the implication of not conforming to the QMS requirements should become a part of their appraisal process. Make D a very important constituent of employee appraisal. You will have to build in processes to drive people's faith and tell them clearly that quality management system requirements have to be met. Exceptions must be ruled out in business processes. And as the owner of the shop, it will benefit you tremendously. Clause 7.4, communication. If you ask me, one most important success factor of any ISO's implementation, I would say 7.4 would be that. Let me read out the standard first. It says, the organization shall determine internal and external communication relevant to the quality management system, including the organization shall determine the internal and external communication relevant to the quality management system, including A, on what it will communicate, B, when to communicate, C, with whom to communicate, D, how to communicate, E, who communicates. So ISO 9001:2015 is essentially asking you to build a very robust communication plan and ensure 100% adherence to the communication. I've been an improvement professional, a management system consultant for roughly 2 decades or more. When I look at organizations, the successful ones, and when I look at the organizations, the ones which are finding it difficult to survive, one key differentiator shall always be communication. Subsequent business processes aren't informed. People don't have the right information on time. You're not carefully evaluating what information is required to be able to perform business processes better. And that could be handled through clause number 7.4. I will show you an example of communication plan that would benefit you tremendously. So 7.2, competence, 7.3, awareness, 7.4, communication. 3 very important pillars to ensure the success of the quality management system, or may I say the success of the organization itself. Your business processes will not yield the kind of results you want them to unless 7.2, 7.3 and 7.4 are rigorously followed. If you are an auditor, I am requesting you to lay a lot of emphasis on the clauses of 7.2, 7.3 and 7.4. I hope you find this video useful. Thank you.